This story is titled, I Found Out My Partner Has Been Lying About Working Late and Spending Time with Someone Else. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to doubt my partner. But sometimes doubt doesn't ask for permission. It sneaks in, slowly at first, then all at once. Ethan and I had been together for 6 years. I was 44, he was 47. We weren't newly in love, but we were solid, or so I thought. Our life was predictable in the best way. Quiet evenings on the couch, weekend trips to the farmer's market, and knowing glances exchanged over the rim of our coffee cups. And then, the late nights started. It began gradually, a late meeting here, a last-minute work dinner there. At first I didn't question it. Ethan was an architect, and deadlines could be brutal. But then it became a pattern that didn't make sense. He'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't his, or like wine, when he always swore he hated red wine. And his phone, God, his phone. It was always face down, always on silent. I told myself I was imagining things, that I was being paranoid, until the night I wasn't. It was a Friday and he was to be home by 7. At 7:30 I texted. No response. At 8 I called. Straight to voicemail. By 9 my stomach was twisted into knots. Something was wrong. I checked his location, something I rarely did. But that night, my gut wouldn't let me ignore it. His phone wasn't at his office. It was across town, in a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. I felt my pulse in my throat. I grabbed my coat and keys before I could second-guess myself. The drive was a blur of headlights and pounding thoughts. When I turned onto the quiet, tree-lined street, I parked a few houses down from the address on the map. And then I saw his car. Ethan's silver sedan, parked in a driveway that wasn't ours. For a long moment, I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe this was a client's house. Maybe. And then I saw him. Ethan stepping out onto the porch. And he wasn't alone. A woman followed him, laughing softly. She was younger than me, maybe mid-30s, with long dark hair that caught the glow of the porch light. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. He placed a hand on her lower back as she leaned in, whispering something in his ear. The way she touched him, it was familiar. Intimate. I felt my stomach drop. Then Ethan did something that shattered me completely. He leaned down and kissed her. I sucked in a breath so sharp it burned my lungs. The world tilted. The sounds of the night blurred into a distant hum. I felt detached from my own body, like I was floating somewhere outside myself, watching my life unravel in slow motion. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But it was. Ethan pulled back, smiling at her in a way he hadn't smiled at me in months. And then, as if sensing something, he turned his head. His eyes locked onto my car. For a second he didn't react. Then realization dawned. His face went pale. His body stiffened. I could see it. The moment he knew he was caught. I didn't wait for him to come over. I threw the car into reverse and sped away, my hands shaking violently against the wheel. He called me 3 times before I even got home. I didn't answer. I couldn't. By the time I walked through the door, my body felt like it didn't belong to me. My mind kept replaying the image of that kiss, that touch, that smile. How long? How long had he been lying to me? And more importantly, who was she? A part of me didn't want to know, but the other part, the one that had just watched the man I loved betray me, needed answers. So I started digging. I opened his laptop, praying he hadn't logged out. He hadn't. My hands trembled as I clicked through his emails, his calendar, anything that might tell me the truth. And then I found it. An email confirmation for a hotel booking. 2 weeks ago, a Friday night. The subject line read, "Looking forward to our time together." The sender? A name I didn't recognize. Emily Clark. My vision blurred with fury. I clicked on the message, my pulse roaring in my ears. Her response was there, short and sweet. Me too. "I've missed you." My stomach clenched. I scrolled further. There were dozens of emails, some casual, some not. References to dinners, weekend getaways, inside jokes I didn't understand. But one email, one message, made my blood turn to ice. It was from Ethan, sent just last week. "I hate lying to her, but I can't let go of you." Not yet, not yet. The words seared into me like fire. I slammed the laptop shut, bile rising in my throat. All those nights he came home late. The mysterious cologne. The silence. It had all been her. I stood there, shaking, staring at the screen as if it might change, as if this could still be undone. But it couldn't. Because the moment I saw those words, something in me broke. And for the first time in 6 years, I realized I didn't really know the man I had been sleeping next to. The front door burst open. Ethan. His face was flushed, his breathing ragged, like he had sprinted the entire way home. Rachel, he panted, his eyes frantic. Please, let me explain. I lifted my chin, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. Go ahead, I said, my voice cold. Explain. His mouth opened, then closed. For the first time in our relationship, Ethan had nothing to say, and that was when I knew. Everything between us was a lie. Ethan stood frozen in the doorway, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. I could see the panic in his eyes, the way his mind scrambled to find a way out of this. But there was no way out. Rachel, he tried again, his voice softer now, pleading. It's not what you think. I let out a hollow laugh. Not what I think. My fingers curled into fists. I watched you, Ethan. I saw you with her. I read your emails, so tell me, what exactly am I misunderstanding? His face paled. He hadn't realized how much I knew. He swallowed hard. It's complicated. 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 I felt something inside me snap. No, Ethan, it's actually really simple. You lied to me. You've been sneaking around, spending nights in hotels with her, Emily. His flinch told me everything I needed to know. So tell me, Ethan, how long? His jaw clenched. His hands curled at his sides. Ethan, I pressed, my voice sharp as glass. How long? His lips parted, but he hesitated. I felt my stomach churn. If you lie to me now, I swear. 6 months, he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. The air left my lungs. 6 months, half a year. I stared at him, stunned into silence. Every late night, every unanswered call, every excuse. It had all been her. I turned away, pressing my hands against the table to steady myself. My vision blurred with tears, but I refused to let them fall. Rachel, please, Ethan begged, stepping closer. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I didn't mean... You didn't mean to betray me? My voice cracked. You didn't mean to lie? To touch her the way you used to touch me? He ran a hand through his hair, frustration etched into his features. I still love you. I spun around so fast he flinched. No, you don't. My breath shook. Because love isn't this. Love isn't sneaking around behind my back. It isn't choosing someone else over and over again. His eyes shimmered with something, guilt, regret. But regret wasn't enough. I had loved him. I had trusted him, and he had shattered that trust beyond repair. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stand tall. I want you to leave, Ethan. His eyes widened. Rachel, leave. Can we just, please, talk about this? I shook my head, my heart breaking all over again. We just did. For a long moment, he didn't move. His shoulders slumped, and for the first time, he looked lost. Then, without another word, he turned and walked out the door. And just like that, he was gone. I stood in the silence, my chest rising and falling with ragged breaths. The weight of it all pressed down on me, but beneath the pain, beneath the heartbreak, there was something else. Relief. Because for the first time in a long time, I knew the truth. And no matter how much it hurt, I deserved the truth. I wiped my face, exhaling slowly. I didn't know what the future held. But I knew one thing for sure. I would never let someone make me feel this small again. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have you ever uncovered a secret that changed everything? Share your thoughts below.